we know that the January 6th riot at the Capitol, whatever they're going to call it, whatever you want to call it. Again, I know there's certain light-skinned YouTubers that hate when I do this and I quote like insurrection and siege, because it's the most lousiest damn thing that I've ever seen, with dude bros and grandmas carrying little American flags, walking in between velvet rope in a single file line. I'm supposed to believe that they were trying to overthrow the fucking government. Also, take that into consideration that, well, all of this that they've come up with, a lot of it was a lie, especially as it pertains to the deaths, like the guy that was supposedly the cop that was supposedly beat to death with a fire extinguisher. That turned out to be fake news. Let's listen in on this. This is Joy Reid. I know she's lousy and some clown from MSNBC. Let's hear what they had to say about this insurrection that they're still clinging on despite that being over and done with. Let's check it out.
And you've been brilliant on this. I really enjoyed listening to you. Been scared, but also scaring is caring. So I appreciate the things that you have said about democracy. I mean, you have said that there should be a presidential commission on democracy. I don't disagree with you.
Well, of course, these authoritarian asshats would love to further centralize power, all in the name of this democracy thing, which is an objectively bad thing, by the way. I guess unless you are an authoritarian asshole like Joy Reid and this dickhead that she's sitting here talking to. These guys, again, they want absolute control, and if they think that, okay, if we have the numbers and just more people on our side vote for it, then it must be righteous or just. Let's continue on.
But if we can't even get a commission, and the president has said he's not going to do a blue ribbon commission of his own on January 6th, what else can be done to make sure that the full truth of January 6th comes out, in your view?
Well, I mean, the first part of the thing is to demonstrate that this is the most important issue of our time. And I think it's actually the most important issue in the last 150 years since the Civil War, because we're at that point in our history.
Oh, dog, they're clinging on to this. Again, backtrack just a little bit. Dude bros and grandmas and American flags. Okay, some people kick their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, we understand, but it wasn't. To call it a siege or a coup is lousy. Definitely when you're talking about the side who probably owns most of the guns when it comes to the actual populace, right? Not the government and what have you. Again, another thing, there were obviously no firearms or weapons that were discovered there. You can go fact check me on that as well. Again, the most lousiest siege, because that's not what it ever fucking was. This idiot sat here and had the nerve to say that this is the most important issue of our time, basically since the Civil War, is what he just said. Again, keep this in mind. There was a person that did die. That was shot by the cops, unarmed white chick that was shot by the cops, as we know, directly dying from the events that happened there at the Capitol. That's pretty much it, right? The guys with the heart attacks and would it be by way of underlying conditions, we know, again, it was a lie. The whole beat them over the head, or beat them to death with a fire extinguisher, that did not happen. That did not happen to that man, or Sicknick, I believe was his name. That did not happen. So we're supposed to believe, and this is the gaslighting thing that the left does very, very well, in which they will, your eyes see one thing, and you can recognize, definitely you consider what happened prior to that, the last year with how many riots and all sorts of things that were happening, albeit in the name of Black lives, but the billions of dollars worth of property damage, in addition to actually people being dying by way of some of these efforts. We've covered a lot of them. People getting shot at, protests, people getting shot there. We know that more people have died in the result, and it's been more widespread of what happened even post George Floyd. How you feel about that is irrelevant. That's a fact of the matter that you cannot disagree with me on. More widespread, but I'm supposed to believe that this is the most trying issue, rather, of our time within since the damn Civil War. The last 150 years, dude bros and grandmas walking in single file line, carrying little American flags between velvet rope. Again, it ain't about whether you agree, disagree, whether you want to protect them, defend them. That's irrelevant. I'm just giving you the facts of what happened. This is textbook gaslighting.
Where this could really fall apart. Our grand experiment could completely fall apart. So I think the president could start with demonstrating every single day this is the most important issue of our time.
So he wants the president to lie. which, I mean, that's President's Live. The one before him did a lot of it, and President Biden's doing it. That's what they do, right? I mean, it's almost like it's a prerequisite to be working for government. Work for government lie. It's like it comes with the territory. But what they want, because what they do, and this is, again, the authoritarian left does this very well, and they want to present the world for what they want it to be and what they need it to be in order for their efforts to feel like they are justified. So they are going to carry this, and a lot of people call this, not necessarily myself, but a lot of people who were paying attention to what happened on the January 6th were calling for that and saying like they're going to drag this shit out as long as they possibly can because of who they can paint as the absolute enemy. And in doing so, they will then impede on other people's liberty in the process, and that's exactly what we're getting from this. That's exactly what we're getting. Like, we know what happened out of that. Like, the facts have started to come out. There ain't much else to talk about, right? Again, we know, objectively speaking, I mean, around the same time, again, last year, 2020, the commotion that these idiots caused because they called themselves being mad at police brutality, killing folk, like, that's not my opinion. I don't care how you feel. It's not my opinion. More people have died in result of the riots and protests than they did on January 6th. But hey, it's different because it's the cathedral. They're attacking our democracy, and it goes to show, man, how these like the Nancy Pelosi's of the world who had feet kicked up on her desk, how they can present it as when those criminals, and make no mistake, the Congress folk are criminal. They're so good at their indoctrination that they have convinced a legitimate portion of the population that when the criminals, the people that send your daughters and sons, obviously mostly sons, to go die in wars, steal from you, while they line their pockets and pay people in political favors, those criminals who went and hide and they were ducking because of the dude bros, they somehow have convinced you that when they went and kicked their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, they were attacking you, which is why they keep wording it in our democracy. Number one, democracy's bad. Number two, it ain't ours. And number three, go fuck yourself. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.